Imagine walking into grade 12 English first additional language paper 2 examination. You turn to section C, you read the title, The Wind and a Boy. Would you panic? Or would you smile because you already know exactly how to answer every question? That is exactly what happened in the November 2024 National Senior Certificate Examination. This short story appeared on the final exam, and thousands of learners discovered that simply reading it wasn't enough. The learners who scored the highest understood the writer's purpose, recognized the literary techniques, and could justify every answer. Today, I'm going to help you become one of those learners. By the end of this lesson, you will understand the short story, unpack its deeper meaning, and answer the exam questions with confidence. And don't leave early, because later I'll reveal the question that caught many learners off guard and show you how to avoid the same mistake. Let's master these short stories together. Before we jump into the short story, let's understand the woman behind it. Bessie Head is one of Southern Africa's most respected writers. Although she was born in South Africa in 1937, much of her writing was shaped by her life in Botswana, where she settled after leaving South Africa during the apartheid era. Many of her short stories explore ordinary people in rural communities, but don't mistake ordinary for simple. Behind every village, every family, and every conversation lies a powerful message about society, humanity, and change. The Wind and a Boy comes from your prescribed anthology, Changes. That title isn't accidental, it's the key that unlocks the entire short story. Because every major event here is driven by one thing, change. Change can bring hope, change can bring opportunity, but Bessie Head asks an uncomfortable question. What happens when progress arrives faster than responsibility? Keep asking yourself that throughout this lesson. If you can answer it, you have already unlocked one of the biggest themes in the short story. Here's your exam tip under the themes. Examiners love theme questions. Instead of memorizing themes, ask yourself, what message is the writer trying to teach? That is where the marks are. Before we analyze the short story, we need to understand it. Not by memorizing every event, but by understanding the journey. Remember, the exam doesn't reward retelling. It rewards understanding. At the heart of this short story are two unforgettable characters, a young boy named Friedman and his grandmother Sejosenye. Their relationship is the emotional heartbeat of everything that follows. Friedman's mother works far away as a typist. Unable to raise him herself, she leaves him in the loving care of her own mother. From that moment on, Sejosenye becomes far more than a grandmother. She becomes his protector, his storyteller, his teacher, and his entire world. Every decision she makes is guided by one purpose: to give this boy the happiest life she possibly can. And for a while, she succeeds. Before we continue, I want you to think like an examiner. Based only on what you have heard so far, would you describe Friedman's childhood as happy or complicated? Pause this video for 5 seconds and make your choice now. By the end of this lesson, you will have more than enough evidence to justify your answer in the exam, and that exact skill could earn you valuable marks. Let's continue. Every unforgettable short story begins with a relationship, and in The Wind and a Boy, that relationship is between a grandmother and her grandson. When Friedman's mother leaves to work as a typist, Sejosenye doesn't complain. She doesn't see Friedman as a burden. She sees him as a blessing. She pours every ounce of love into raising him. She feeds him, protects him, and carries him wherever she goes. And when the villagers tease her because the little boy follows her everywhere, she simply smiles and says, "Oh, he's no trouble." That single sentence tells us everything we need to know about her. To everyone else, he's just another child. To her, he is her whole world. Here's the exam tip under characterization. When a character repeats a simple line like this, ask yourself, what does it reveal about their personality? Examiners are rarely testing memory. They are testing your ability to infer. One of the most beautiful features of this short story is that Bessie Head doesn't simply tell us Friedman grows up. She lets us watch it happen. First, he's a tiny baby wrapped in blankets. Then, the quiet little toddler who shadows his grandmother everywhere. And before everyone realizes it, that toddler has become a tall, graceful young boy. The narrator describes him with enormous affection, large, thoughtful eyes, a gentle musical voice, and a smile too bright that people can't help but notice him. Among the village boys, Friedman is admired. He is imaginative enough to build the best wire cars, adventurous enough to explore all day, and mischievous enough to become one of the greatest little thieves in the neighborhood. Yet everyone still loves him. That tells us something important. His mistakes never define him. His kindness always shines brighter. So I want you to pause and think. Would you describe Friedman as a naughty boy or simply a normal boy growing up? The examiner could easily ask you to justify your opinion using evidence from the short story. Now, let's talk about the woman who shaped him. Sejosenye isn't an ordinary grandmother. She's one of the strongest women in the entire anthology. When she was younger, she challenged the expectations of her community. She followed her own heart, ignored gossip, and built a life on her own terms. Instead of letting society define her, she defined herself. Even in old age, that strength never disappears. She works her fields, produces successful harvests, and faces hardship with remarkable resilience, never expecting anyone else to solve her problems. This matters because Bessie Head is quietly challenging traditional ideas about women. Sejosenye isn't weak, she isn't dependent, she is intelligent, independent, respected, and quietly extraordinary. So here's your exam tip, the trait plus evidence. Character question often asked, what does this reveal about? Then you answer with trait plus evidence. For example, Sejosenye is independent because she successfully manages her land without depending on others. That second part is where many learners gain or lose the mark. Every evening after the day's work is done, another lesson begins, not in a classroom, but beside the fire. Sejosenye fills Friedman's imagination with stories. Brave hunters, fearless warriors, heroes who sacrifice themselves for others. One story stays with him more than any other. The story of Robinson Crusoe, the great hunter who killed an elephant so that an entire community could eat. Those stories plant a dream inside Friedman. He doesn't dream of becoming famous or rich. He dreams of becoming useful or helping other people. And we see that goodness in one unforgettable moment. After a heavy storm, frightened mice ran into the houses. The other boys want to kill them. Friedman refuses. Why? Because he says the mice have already lost their homes. While everyone else sees pets, Friedman sees suffering. That single moment tells us more about his character than a page of description ever could. Then everything changes. As Friedman approaches his 14th birthday, his mother sends money for something special, a bicycle. For Friedman, it isn't just a gift, it's freedom, it's independence. It's a chance to help the grandmother who spent her whole life helping him. He can't wait to use it to run her errands. It should have marked the beginning of an exciting new chapter. Instead, the narrator quietly gives us one of the most heartbreaking pieces of foreshadowing in the whole short story. The bicycle would bring his life to an abrupt end. In the next section, we reach the moment that transforms this beautiful coming-of-age story into one of the most heartbreaking tragedies in your prescribed anthology. And once we have unpacked it, you'll never look at the title The Wind and the Boy the same way again. Every great tragedy begins like an ordinary day, Nothing feels unusual. Nothing warns us that everything is about to change. That is exactly how Bessie Head tells this moment. Sejosenye is working in her fields when she realizes she's running low on supplies. She asks Friedman to ride into the village on his new bicycle. A simple errand, one he is excited to do. He buys everything his grandmother needs, stops for a cup of tea, chats with people who know him, and smiles that warm, unforgettable smile. To everyone who sees him, it's just another ordinary afternoon. No one knows they are seeing him alive for the last time. On his way back, Friedman reaches the main road. In the carefree confidence of youth, he rides into the road, turns his head, looks forward the approaching truck, and smiles. The truck hits him, just like that. The brightest light in the story is gone. There are moments in literature that stay with you long after you have finished reading. This is one of them. Here's where many learners stop thinking. They see an accident. Bessie Head wants us to see something much bigger. This wasn't simply a boy riding into traffic. The driver had no driving license. The truck had no brakes. Yet he was driving anyway. Why? Because after independence, a new class of wealthy civil servants emerged, and owning a vehicle became a symbol of status. But responsibility didn't always keep pace with progress. And that is the real tragedy. Friedman doesn't die because he is evil or because he deserves punishment. He dies because someone else behaves irresponsibly. Bessie Head asks, what happens when a society embraces progress but forgets responsibility? That question is at the heart of this short story. So here is your exam tip. When asked, what is the writer criticizing? Don't only look at the characters, look at the society they live in. Writers use individual stories or criticize much bigger social problems. That is what Bessie Head is doing here. Then comes one of the most heartbreaking moments in the entire anthology. The police arrive. They tell Sejosenye that Friedman is dead. For a moment, she simply cannot believe what she's hearing. Then she asks a question no grandmother should ever have to ask. Can't you return those words back? Think about those words. She isn't asking for justice. She isn't asking who was responsible. She isn't asking for revenge. She is asking for the impossible. She wants time to move backwards. Because once those words have been spoken, her world can never be the same again. Within weeks, the woman who had survived hardship, poverty, gossip, and countless disappointments loses the will to live. The village buries Friedman. Not long afterwards, they bury Sejosenye too. Bessie Head reminds us that grief doesn't only take one life. Sometimes it claims two. Now let's unpack one of the examiner's favorite questions, the title. At first glance, it seems beautifully simple, but every single word matters. Let's start with the wind. Literally, the wind represents freedom, movement, energy, the magical force that seems to surround Friedman throughout his childhood. It captures everything that makes childhood feel limitless. That is running, playing, dreaming, and living without fear. But Bessie Head gives the wind another meaning. It also represents the winds of change, the social changes brought by independence. New roads, new vehicles, new opportunities, new wealth. At first, those changes seem exciting, but by the end, they've become destructive. The same wind that promises progress also carries tragedy. That is why the title is so powerful. One wind celebrates life, the other takes it away. Now look carefully at the second half of the title. Bessie Head doesn't write the wind and the boy. She writes the wind and a boy. That tiny word changes everything. A boy, not one special child, not one isolated tragedy, but any child, every child. Friedman becomes a symbol of innocence itself. His death represents every young life destroyed by carelessness, That is why the narrator warns us there will be many more bodies on the road if nothing changes. The story isn't only about Friedman, it's about all of us. Here's a challenge for you. Which meaning of the wind do you think is more important? Freedom, change, or both? Pause this video right now. Think about your answer and then leave it in the comments section. I would love to read your interpretation because in literature, the best discussions begin with thoughtful ideas supported by evidence. Let's move into the literary analysis because this is where the marks really begin to add up. We'll start with the setting. At first glance, the village seems peaceful, life moves slowly, children play freely, neighbors know one another. The rhythm of life follows the seasons, not the clock. It feels safe, predictable, and almost timeless. But that is exactly why the ending is so shocking. Bessie Head deliberately creates a calm, almost idyllic setting, so the arrival of modern danger feels even more devastating. And notice, the greatest threat doesn't come from inside the village. It comes from outside, on the main road, driving a truck. The village represents tradition, the truck represents uncontrolled modernization, and when two worlds collide, innocence is destroyed. So here's your exam tip for setting. Always ask yourself, how does the setting help develop the theme? Don't just describe where the story happens. Explain why it matters. Now, let's talk about the narrator. This short story is told by a third-person omniscient narrator. That simply means the narrator isn't a character in the story and knows everything. The narrator knows what Friedman is thinking, what Sejosenye's past is, and what the villagers believe. Even more importantly, the narrator knows what is going to happen long before the characters do. That is why the narrator can quietly warn us that the bicycle will end Friedman's life. We feel dramatic irony. We know tragedy is coming while Friedman keeps smiling. And that creates tension throughout the short story. So here's a quick check. Who already knows Friedman's fate before it happens? Friedman, Sejosenye, or the narrator? If you choose the narrator, you're absolutely right. If there is one section you absolutely cannot afford to skip, it's this one. Because themes appear again and again in the examination. Let's unpack the four most important ones. Theme number 1, tradition versus modernity. The village represents a traditional African way of life. People know one another, families support each other, and children enjoy freedom. Then modernization arrives. Roads, vehicles, money, and status. Progress itself isn't the problem. Irresponsibility is. Beside Head is not against development. She is warning us that development without responsibility becomes dangerous. Theme number 2, change. Remember the title of your anthology, Changes. That isn't just the name of the book. It's the engine that drives this short story. Everything changes. Society, transport, communities. But not every change improves people's lives. Sometimes change demands wisdom. And without wisdom, people suffer. Theme number 3, love and loss. Beneath all the symbolism, this is still a love story. Not romantic love, but family love. The unconditional love between a grandmother and a grandson. That love gives this short story its warmth and gives the ending its unbearable sadness. Without that relationship, the tragedy wouldn't hurt nearly as much. Theme number 4, gender roles. At the start of this short story, boys enjoy remarkable freedom, while girls are expected to work, to fetch water, to do chores. Already, Bessie Head is inviting us to question traditional gender expectations. Then she gives us Sejosenye, the independent, strong, successful, a woman who challenges stereotypes simply by the way she lives. So it's your exam tip, the theme formula. For any theme question, use theme, evidence, writer's message. Never stop after naming the theme. Explain what the writer wants us to learn. Now, let's look at the language. Writers choose words carefully, and every image creates meaning. When Friedman is described as a graceful gazelle, that is a metaphor. We imagine beauty, speed, freedom, and elegance. But gazelles are also vulnerable, beautiful creatures, often hunted. Suddenly, that metaphor becomes heartbreaking. Later, Friedman moves his head like a cobra. That's a simile. The comparison suggests alertness, playfulness, and just enough danger to hint at mischief to come. It captures his useful energy perfectly. Then we read that Sejosenye sailed through the village. She isn't literal sailing. The image suggests confidence, dignity, grace. She moves through life without letting other people's opinions control her. Notice the pattern. Don't simply identify the literal device. Always ask, what does it help me understand? That's where the marks are hiding. So your exam tip, the 3 I's. Identify, interpret, impact. 3 steps every time. We are almost there. In the next section, I'll show you why irony is the single most important literary device in this short story, and then we'll work through the actual November 2024 examination questions exactly as an examiner expects. If you have made it this far, you are already thinking like a distinction learner. Let's finish strong. We have reached the most important part of today's lesson. We are now going to answer the actual November 2024 NSC examination questions on the wind and a boy. But here's the difference. I'm not going to tell you the answers. I'm going to teach you how markers think. Once you understand what markers look for, you can answer almost any contextual question on any short story. Before we begin, remember 3 golden rules. Now, let's become examiners. Number 1. Marks tell you the number of ideas. 2 marks equals to 2 clear points. 3 marks equals 3 developed ideas. Don't write half a page for 1 mark. Number 2, read the instruction verb. State, name, identify, explain, and discuss. Each demands a different answer. Number 3, support every opinion with evidence. Your opinion ends nothing. Your evidence ends everything. Before I answer, I want you to first answer first. Pause this video right now. Take 30 seconds and then compare your answer with mine. Welcome back. Let's mark it together. The question, oh, it's no trouble, Sejosenye will reply. What does this reveal about your state of mind? Notice the words, state of mind. The examiner isn't asking about personality. They are asking about emotion. A full mark answer. Sejosenye is content and happy because she never sees Friedman as a burden, even when other villagers do. Notice the structure, emotion, then evidence. That is why it scores full 2 marks. 1 mark. Who does they refer to? Simple recall. Don't overthink it. Don't write an essay. The answer is simply the villagers. 1 word, 1 mark. Move on. Excellent exam technique means knowing when to stop writing. Multiple choice questions are gifts. Read every option carefully, eliminate the wrong answers, and then choose confidently. The correct answer is a toddler, and never change your answer just because you start doubting yourself. Trust the evidence in the text. Now the marks become more interesting. The examiners ask for you to identify the figure of speech and explain its effectiveness. Many learners only identify it. That is only part of the answer. Let's use the Professor Reason formula. Step number 1, identify it. It is a simile. Step number 2, explain the comparison. That is, a cobra moves carefully, smoothly, and can become dangerous without warning. Step number 3, link it back to Friedman. His movement suggests playful mischief and hints he's about to get into trouble. 3 steps, 3 marks. So here is your exam tip for figurative language. Ask yourself, what picture does the writer create? And what idea does the picture communicate? That's where the explanation comes from. Now we are dealing with tone. Many learners panic at tone questions. Don't. Tone is simply the writer's attitude. Ask yourself, how does the narrator sound? Here, The narrator sounds admiring. Why? Because the description highlights Friedman's creativity, intelligence, and talent. Feeling wet, then reason. Done. Why is Friedman given that name? His grandmother names him after Dr. Friedman, the kind foreign doctor who treated her with compassion. Notice the examiner wants both detail, the doctor and his kindness. Leave one out and you risk losing a mark. Character question. Our favorite formula, trait plus evidence. Sejosenye is proud, independent, and confident. How do we know? She refuses to let village gossip control her life. Always prove your answer. Markers can't award marks for unsupported opinions. One word replacement. Don't rewrite the sentence. Simply replace firstborn with youngest or lastborn. One word, one mark, move on. Now we arrive at the question that separates average learners from excellent learners. Friedman had a wonderful childhood. Discuss your view. The instruction is everything. It doesn't ask whether the statement is true. It asks you to discuss your view. That means you may agree or disagree. Both can earn full marks, provided you justify them. If you agree, Friedman enjoys the freedom to play and explore. He is deeply loved. The whole village admires him and he receives a bicycle. If you disagree, although he experiences love, he grows up without his mother's daily presence, takes on responsibility young, and most importantly, his childhood ends in a tragic, preventable death. Both viewpoints are acceptable. So which ends marks more? Neither. The better arguments ends the marks. That is one of the biggest secrets of English exams. Examiners don't reward guessing what they think. They reward your ability to defend your interpretation with evidence from the text. So here's my final exam tip. Whenever you see discuss your view, remember, there is no full marks without full justification. That one habit alone will lift your literature marks across every prescribed text. Congratulations, you have just worked through an actual NSC examination the way experienced markers expect. But before you leave, I want to share 4 final habits that separates a learner who passes from one who earns a distinction. Let's finish strong. Habit number 1. Always match your number of ideas to the marks allocated. If a question is worth 2 marks, give 2 clear points. Don't waste exam time writing an essay for 1 mark. Quality beats quantity every time. Habit number 2. Read the instruction verb before anything else. If the examiner says state, keep it short. If they say explain, tell us why. If they say discuss your view, take a position and defend it with evidence. The instruction verb tells you exactly how to earn the marks. Habit number 3. Never leave your answers unsupported. In literature, opinions don't earn marks, evidence does. Whenever possible, prove your answer using the text. That is exactly how experienced markers award full marks. Habit number 4. Don't just ask, what happened? Ask, why did Bessie Head choose to write it in this way? That is the question distinction learners ask. And once you think like the writer, the examiner's questions becomes much easier to answer. Here's your one formula. Point, evidence, explanation. Say it with me. Point, evidence, explanation. The Wind and the Boy isn't remembered because it's simply a sad story. It's remembered because it reminds us that progress without responsibility can destroy innocence, that love can shape a life, and that one careless decision can change an entire community forever. But as grade 12 learners, there is another lesson. Literature isn't about memorizing notes or cramming model answers. It's about understanding people, understanding society, understanding why writers tell the story they do. Once you understand the short story, you'll understand the questions. And once you understand the questions, the marks begin to follow. If today's lesson helped the Wind and the Boy finally click, please take a second to support the channel. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next grade 12 English FAL lesson. Now I'd like to hear from you. In one sentence, What do you think is the most important message Bessie Head wanted readers to learn from this short story? Write it in the comments. I'll be reading them and replying to as many as I can. Learning doesn't end when the video ends. It continues in the discussion. And don't stop your paper 2 preparations here. The Changes anthology is connected. Every story brings new themes, new techniques, and new ways examiners ask questions. The next lesson is already waiting on your screen. Click it now and let's keep building your distinction, one story at a time. Remember, great English students don't memorize the most. They understand the most. Understand the story. Think like the examiner. Master the marks. I'm Professor Reason. The class is dismissed.